Back in the day when the radio played, the CDs spun our nights away. From grunge to grooves and R&B, 95 was the place to be. We're digging deep, 1 week at a time. Every album, every rhyme. It's more than music, it's a vibe. Come with us, let's take that ride. 52/1995. We're bringing that year back alive. From basement tapes to billboard highs, rewind the sound, relive the drive. Oh, 52/1995. Drop the needle, feel that jive. 1 year, 1 track at a time. Dive, yeah, let's dive. Spinning loud, feel the flash. Britpop dreams and alt rock crash. Hip-hop truth, electronic night. Every beat still burns so bright. 52/1995. It's not just songs, it's a time capsule dive. Talking tunes that shaped our lives. Tune and turn up and ride that high, yeah. 52/1995. Weekly drops, we keep it live. Let's rewind the vibe. One album every time. Back in the day when the radio played, the CDs spun our nights away. From grunge to grooves and R&B, 95 was the place to be. We're digging deep, 1 week at a time. Every album, every rhyme. It's more than music, it's a vibe. Come with us, let's take that ride. 52/1995. We're bringing that year back alive. From basement tapes to billboard highs, rewind the sound, relive the drive. Oh, 52/1995. Drop the needle, feel that jive. 1 year, 1 track at a time. Dive, yeah, let's dive. Spinning loud, feel the flash. Britpop dreams and alt rock crash. Hip-hop truth, electronic night. Every beat still burns so bright. 52/1995. It's not just songs, it's a time capsule dive. Talking tunes that shaped our lives. Tune and turn up and ride that high, yeah. 52/1995. Back in the day when the radio played, the CDs spun our nights away. From grunge to grooves and R&B, 95.
I
Hello.
Yeah, stuff happened.
I said, did we have an early start? Are we?
No, I just screwed it up because I was trying to add something and it didn't work the way that I wanted it to.
You're
Leave it
trying to
to
be
me.
cool.
I'm
You're trying
trying
to be
to be
cool.
cool,
Peeing your pants. It's cool.
and I was not very cool. I
Not
should have
very
just peed
cool.
my pants.
Huge
That's my
bummer.
fault.
That's okay. We forgive you.
Thank
Well,
you.
welcome in everybody to 52/1995, your live music conversation podcast for diving deep into the music of 1995. This is our first expansion of the 52 universe from our sister podcast, 52/1995 movies. I am your host, Alyssa, and I am joined this week, as always, by my fantastic co-host, Cody. Cody, give the people a nice little wave, a nice little peace sign. We love to see it. The crowd loves you.
Thank
For
you.
those who are tuning in for the first time, we love to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. Just to give you a little spiel, each week, 52 weeks in a year, we explore a different album from the year 1995. We're going to dive deep into the important releases of this year, some not so important releases of this year, but have made it onto a couple of lists. And we're going to talk about them in detail, and I'll ask my guests, what is their experience with the music? What are their thoughts? What are their opinions? And on top of that, each month we're exploring a different theme or genre. And this is the last day of our April, this month's April. This is the last Tuesday in April where we are exploring British invasion. So all of our artists from this month have been British artists, not exclusively Brit-pop, but we've had a lot of Brit-pop to talk about. And today is not one of those. We're not talking about Brit-pop today. We are talking about some alternative music. Today's album is To Bring You My Love by PJ Harvey. So Cody, I'm going to pass it off to you. I want to know, how do you feel about what was your first impression of this album? Do you know PJ Harvey? What's your thoughts so far?
This is a first for me. I had never, kind of like with Pulp, whenever we talked about Pulp, have no experience, have no idea what I was in for with PJ Harvey and kind of what her whole deal is. As I listened to her more, I kind of got the vibe a little bit. It's a little punk, it's a little bluesy, it's a little grungy. It's kind of got a lot of different things. Alternative is a great way to describe this too, especially in the mid 90s. Um, but yeah, never listened to one song until, a week ago. So
Yeah, me neither. Shocking. I know most of the movies and music that we discuss on our podcast, I don't have a lot of experience with, but even in just doing research for this album, I had heard of Blur, I had heard of, I'd listened to Oasis a little bit, even Radiohead, even though that was my first experience with Radiohead last week, other than the song Creep, like at least heard of them, right? And in doing research for this project and trying to pick which albums do we want to talk about, who was big during this time, what are some significant releases, who got nominated for awards, PJ Harvey's name came up consistently. So I was like, well, we got to put her on this list. And so we did. And we're going to talk about her today. um, but so what's the first impression of the album other than, yeah, you've never listened to it before? What's the vibe? How are we feeling?
it was a little, I want to say it was a little uneven for me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of like very like harder songs on this, and then I think there's some softer song. None of them are like soft songs.
Yeah.
But I do think that there are two sides of this coin. It's very polarizing. Um, and honestly, it kind of went the opposite of how I would enjoy an album or see an album like this, where it starts off really heavy and then by the end of it, it kind of comes down to it's a lot softer. I would
Yeah.
say, and I don't think that was a great selling point for me
Mm-hmm.
personally, because I think a lot of the ones that I did end up enjoying on this album are the ones that were a little bit on the softer or a little bit more playful or
Mm-hmm.
side. Not to say that again, they're not like really soft songs by any means. It
Right.
is very
You're
grungy.
talking musically. Like
Yeah.
there are, and I will, when you say uneven, I would definitely agree with you. And even in just the terms of like the vocal that we're getting, like PJ can go from having a very deep and guttural almost, like alto, even getting into like a tenor voice, to having such a like a nice sing-songy voice that again
Mhm.
it goes from this like hard, edgy to this like very sweet sounding. Things that lean more towards pop. And as I went through again, I listened to the album first before I did any research. And the songs that I picked out is like, oh, this one seems like the most easily digestible. This is one that I like, or I like the sound, or I like how she sounds. Those were the ones that ended up being popular, ended up being singles on pop radio and getting nominated for things. So I was like, that makes sense. Like the harder stuff was kind of like almost shocking.
Mhm.
And then the softer stuff, I get if you and I both kind of leaned or gravitated toward those ones. Again, not soft by any means, still in that grunge goth era of
Yeah.
music, but just a little different tone. Like you can ping pong back and forth between songs. You're going to get two different vibes.
Yeah, you really are. And it kind of is reminiscent. It's like a harder version of Natalie Merchant to me. That's what it kind of came off to me as.
What it's That's a fantastic comparison. Because I immediately went to Natalie Merchant when we were listening. I was like, oh my God, like this, like I kind of wish that, PJ Harvey was part of Women's Month
Hmm.
when we had ladies night in January. But I'm like, because I think she would have fit in really well, maybe a little bit more so that I mean, Joan Osborne still kind of fits in that,
Yeah,
in
with Joan, yeah, like that blues feeling that I get from PJ
yes,
Harvey is definitely more of that Joan Osborne feeling.
yes. I
But she,
someone
yeah.
Someone might have even compared her to Joan Osborne, like a harder Joan Osborne, like when I was doing some research. But yeah, Natalie Merchant, Joan Osborne. This I don't really feel like PJ Harvey had like I'll say like we've been talking about this idea of having something to say, especially with this British month with the Britpop groups. They have like a statement that they're trying to make about society or capitalism, and we saw that a lot in Ladies Month too with Natalie Merchant, with even Jewel and Joan Osborne. This one I don't really feel like she had anything to say.
I will say though, and this has been pretty consistent with the women artists that we've been talking about, is there are lots of themes of religion in this,
Yeah.
and sex too. Those
Hmm.
have been pretty prominent. Not the, and we've had that from some of the male artists too, but not the religious aspect.
Yeah.
And I think in some of the very minimal research that I did, she's not religious at all. She doesn't even. I don't even
Nope.
think she comes from a religious background or anything,
Nope.
but she just uses that. It's interesting when people do that. I feel like Fall Out Boy did that. Not religious at all, but they had religious themes in their music.
Hmm.
Noah Khan is Jewish. We've talked
Yeah.
about that, is Jewish, yet he talks about a lot of things that feel very fundamentalist Christian to me.
Hmm.
Um, and
Yes. Go on a side tangent. I said one of my favorite Noah Kahn lines is there was heaven in your eyes. I was not baptized. And again, he's Jewish. But it's like, like trying to enter into this person's soul, like to get her to like him in the most basic of terms. And he's not allowed admittance. He's not allowed entrance.
Mhm.
But yeah, so sorry. That's my favorite Noah Khan line. He's got banger after banger. Let's just fast forward to 2023 or 2022, I think is when
He's been riding that album for 2 years at least.
I
So
say at least. But we could just talk about Noah Khan for a day. That'd be fun. But no, you're right. There's a lot of heavy religious themes in this album. And for not, I don't want to say for seemingly no reason. I think she has like a connection or is fascinated by it. But you're right. It's not like Alanis where she grew up in a super religious family and is like kind of experiencing the aftermath of that.
mhm.
So it's interesting stuff. Um, I think it might be raining.
I think it is now.
Well, do you want to dive into like some background, some history, some information about this album and
I'm so
PJ?
excited to learn a little bit more about PJ Harvey.
I'm sure you are. No, so today's album is "To Bring You My Love" by PJ Harvey. I want to say BJ so badly because I just was reading articles about BJ Novak and how he's dating this TikTok star. That's so he's on my brain PJ Harvey. Also, Polly Jean is her name. Polly Jean Harvey is her full name. The album is only 42 minutes, on the shorter side of some of our albums, 10 songs long. So each song is on a little bit of the longer side in the 4-minute range, but only 10 songs, 42-minute album. PJ Harvey began her career in 1988, where she joined a local band called Automatic Dlamini. I can't pronounce it, but she was a vocalist, a guitarist, and a saxophonist in this band. In 1991, that was her first exposure to music. 1991, she formed a trio that was specifically called PJ Harvey, kind of like having, like the Dave Matthews Band. She was their front runner, but they did make up of a trio. They came out with 2 albums in 92 and 93 before disbanding. And after that, she continued her career as a solo artist. This is her first release as a solo artist. So again, very similar to Natalie Merchant in the sense that had a little bit of a career musically prior to this. This is a kickoff solo album. One thing I find really interesting about Harvey and her music is that she aims to not repeat herself. Like specifically, she had an interview with Rolling Stone in 2004. She said, when I'm working on an album, on a new record, the most important thing is to not repeat myself. That's always my aim, to try and cover new ground and to really challenge myself because I'm in this for the learning. So I think that's really interesting. I really respect that as an artist. She also likes to change her physical appearance with each album as well. So this whole the changing and trying something new really extends herself beyond the music itself. So this one that we're in is the grunge alternative goth album. And you'll see, and you kind of mentioned it, we were talking about this right before the podcast. You listen to a different song and you're like, oh, I kind of like this, but it's not on the album. It was just Spotify playing. Well, it's because every album is almost a different genre in and of itself. So very similar. She kind of gives me like Lady Gaga vibes almost, in the sense that there's like the different outfits. Because like in this album, she's like Doc Martens and black leggings and like black hair. And then in the next album, she's wearing ball gowns. Like it is very different visually, sonically in her work. So we get the grungy alternative album in '95, which is her debut, which I find very interesting. Any thoughts on that?
No, yeah, it definitely feels like that. She feels like, we always bring it up, the part about who would listen to this from Reality Bites. And I know this comes off as more like Janine Garofalo's character, not from Reality Bites, but instead from Romy and Michelle's high school reunion. Janine Garofalo's character in that would definitely be into PJ Harvey, really hardcore. Mm-hmm. I don't know if any of I think the Ethan Hawke character would want to listen to PJ Harvey and tell people he listened to PJ Harvey, but I think he has never listened to her in his life.
See, I think that the Reality Bites kids love this album, and then the next album that she comes out with, the Ethan Hawke character is like, oh, she changed. And the girls are like, no, we're into it. She sold out. It's like, no, she's this like, and again, I can respect her as an artist. I think it's interesting.
Yeah. I also like that she changes. I know that I told you that I came across those songs and I was like, oh, this is really good, but I'd be curious to see because she is still putting out music, a lot of music up until 2024, I think is the last thing that I saw that she was doing stuff. So she's still putting out stuff. I would be curious to see like what genre she's bending into or doing, because honestly, like you can't really pinpoint her genre on this album because it does cover so many range. Like I hear, the Pixies in here. I hear Nirvana. I hear some Alanis. I hear a little bit of Natalie. I hear all these things in this blues. I hear a lot of blues in this.
Yeah.
And
very heavily inspired by American blues music. And if you look at her list of inspirations and the artists that she grew up listening to, it's everybody. There's like, I was like, oh, I want to like see where her, like, some of her inspiration is. And I was like, I can't pick. There was like, she listed like 20 different artists. Jimi Hendrix was one. Bob Dylan was one. I've got one that I'll bring up later because he was heavy inspiration for the album, but like in like the song specifically. But yeah, like it's a melting pot of genres
Yeah.
and inspirations on this album. So, which again can be very cool and interesting, but also can be distorting to the listener, being like, what are we trying to achieve here?
Yeah, I think like Nina Simone even comes through a little bit if you've ever listened to Nina Simone and her
Her
deep,
name
like,
got brought up too.
bluesy voice. Patti Smith is another one that I would definitely throw out there for her, especially if she's like Bob Dylan as an inspiration. Patti Smith makes so much sense.
I've got a quote from Rolling Stone on its review of this album. And it says, Harvey sings the blues like Nick Cave sings gospel, with more distortion, sex, and murder than you remember. To Bring You My Love was a towering goth version of grunge.
Yeah, I didn't mention Nick Cave because he's the one that I would absolutely pair her with. I think I actually mentioned Nick Cave maybe last week with Radiohead in their rock album. But this is definitely Nick Cave stuff. I'm not a huge fan of Nick Cave, but this definitely comes from that Nick Cave style.
Yeah, and the comparison makes a lot of sense.
And I think they have a duo album together too. Her and
Oh,
Nick
no
Cave.
way. I missed that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Or at least a single anyway together.
That makes sense. Again, that's why we talk about pairings at the end of this call, is that we call podcast whatever we're doing. We're talking live.
You're just so used to work that you're like, we're on a call.
We're on a call.
Teams meeting.
Teams meeting. You're on mute. But I completely lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
I ruined it.
Nope. But at the end of the show, we say, what are some music pairings? It's for this reason, because people draw on inspiration from one another. Like and you can hear it too. Like, I mean, one of my examples that I always like to bring up is that I'm a big AJR fan. I have the music taste of a 10-year-old boy. But I really like AJR, and there's one AJR song that I was listening to like on their second album, and I'm like, oh my God, this sounds identical to a John Bellion song. Sure enough, I go back, I listen to the John Bellion song. It is identical. And I find in an article that AJR is heavily inspired by John Bellion. I was like, well, that makes sense. And I was like, did they sample? I didn't like find out if they sampled the song or if it was an accidental ripoff.
Yeah.
AJR was not big enough at the time for anybody to care if they ripped off another not so big artist's song. But it's like, we, as a listener, as an appreciator of music, we draw those comparisons ourselves, and it's fun when it actually does come to fruition.
Yeah. So like, I thought of Nick Cave, and then in doing my research, I was like, oh, look, they've done music together. It makes so much sense.
Exactly. This album did actually do pretty well in terms of like commercial praise. It had like extensive rotation on MTV. MTV loved this shit. But in 1996, this album did get PJ her first Grammy nominations, one for Best Alternative Music and one for Best Female Rock Vocal Performance, specifically for the single Down by the Water. She ended up losing to Alanis Morissette's You Ought to Know that year, but to be nominated is pretty cool, especially, again, British music getting recognized in an American space. We liked it because that's cool to see. But yeah, Down by the Water was like the really big hit. That's the one that people probably recognize. Again, had that slot on MTV that everybody was just on all the time. Super popular on college radio stations as well. But that was her highest charting single in the US. What I found really interesting is that her popularity really doesn't soar until like 2000. Like, this is really what this album gets her off the ground. But the album that she put out in 2000, which is Stories from the City, Stories from the Sea, that's probably her most popular one, and then followed by her 2011 album. So even though we're talking about her and like is Grammy nominated album, is, you know, kind of like we're comparing her to other artists at the time, and seems to be pretty well recognized by in the Rolling Stones and a couple different articles and chart topping lists and Billboard. Like, this is like not her most famous stuff, and it's just really interesting.
The more that we talk about it, the more I'm liking her, and I'm feeling harsh about some of the stuff.
Well, no, I said this, and I think the same thing. I listen to this, and I try to do this every time. I try to listen first, and then I try to do my research because I want to have as unbiased of an opinion as possible. And we'll get into it when we start to break down the songs. I didn't like necessarily love this album, but the more I learn about PJ Harvey, the more I'm into her. Like again, trying to do new things all the time. Also is like has does a bunch of side quests, like
Yeah.
is really into sculpting and has published poetry novels, like is like just a artist at her core. Like just this is a person who needed to be doing something in the creative space, whether it's with her hands, with her music, with again, plays the saxophone in her first band. That's really cool. Like I think her as a vibe, very cool. This album on its own, honestly, kind of weak. But again, we'll get into that when we start talking about the songs.
Yeah.
But I think that's all I kind of have. This album did go silver in the United Kingdom. It sold over 1 million copies worldwide. Over almost 400,000 of those were in the US. But that's kind of all I have in terms of background. Again, really kind of surprising that we hadn't heard of her before almost, because it seems like she was a pretty big deal in 95.
Yeah, I feel like I've always heard her name.
Yeah.
PJ Harvey. And I don't think I knew if it was a woman. I don't know if I knew if it was a band called PJ Harvey or what. But she was not what I expected whenever
Yes.
I come to this for the first time. This was not what I expected.
I agree. Well, do you want to break down some of these songs?
Yeah, let's do it.
What now? Again, we're both kind of. I'll say it up top for our listeners out there. We unfortunately we chat about these things slightly before we come to the podcast. Not a ton. I don't know Cody's opinions on any of the things we're about to talk about, but we do know that we're both kind of leaning on that not so much love on the album. So of the songs on the album, there's only 10. Which one stuck out to you to talk about?
Working for the Man.
Okay.
Long Snake Moan.
Okay.
And Down by the Water.
Okay. Sounds good. I also want to talk about Send His Love to Me.
Okay.
But yes, talk about Working for the Man. What about it?
I just thought this was a really fun song.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of lends itself to what we've been talking about all month with these British artists and what they're actually writing about and talking about like essentially working for the man. And I don't know where all these people are at in their lives, but they just find themselves doing the same thing over and over. And I don't know. I just felt like this was a more fun song, not necessarily in its beat or anything, but it is one of the more upbeat and softer songs on the album.
Mm-hmm.
And it does feel a little bit more bluesy to me.
Agreed. Yes, this is certainly leaning into that blues. I love the bass line.
Yeah,
we're just someone's
that's
there
all
just
it
like
is,
this,
really.
There's rarely almost no music to this song. It is solely a bass line. A little more comes in towards the end with percussion, but it is a strong bass and it is cool. It gives a cool vibe. You're just like, you're just like, like I've got no idea what we're talking about, but I'm here for it. Like, what do you think? What kind of job do you think she has? Because I kind of thought that this was like describing a sex worker.
It did feel like a sex worker. A lot of her songs kind of deal with or
sex,
feel like sex. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't really think about it. I just liked it.
Yeah, no, I like the bass is really cool. I did really like this song. I didn't, that's the second song on the album. The first one is To Bring You My Love, which is the title track of the album. And I felt like it was like, the vibes were edgy. They were kind of weird. But the intro into the album was so slow. So you needed this pickup to come after it because I was like, if they're going to all be like this, I'm dead. Like, we're not going to have a good time. So having that second song to come in with the cool bass, I'm like, this feels a lot better.
Yeah, this is actually the third song on the album.
Oh, third. Okay. Well, maybe I just skipped over the second one completely.
Yeah, I would, because I don't like that song. But yeah,
The-
this one's very simple. Like, it's just that bass line that you said, that running bass line. I do think that, with the whole working for the man thing is a play on like the sex worker
Mhm.
life. And I don't know.
I do have one complaint with this song, and it is that when you are gonna take a chance and be careful, and when you're choosing interesting sounds, because at some point in the middle of this, I can't tell if she's just hitting weird notes on a keyboard or if she's like humming
She's
weird, or
humming.
she's like, "Wah, wah," and
It's
I'm like,
almost, yeah, it's like she's like doing little scratches or whatever.
right. And I was like, okay, I can vibe with this. At the very end, there is a weird sound that comes in. I literally had to pull my headphones off because it hurt my ears. Like, because it just came in so loud and like so abruptly out of nowhere. And it like was almost like high pitched. Again, it
Mhm.
might have been her humming, but I literally yanked my headphone out because I was like, oh my God, that hurt. And I'm like, if you're going to take a big swing, like you have to think about also not just, does it fit? Does it make sense? Are people going to like it, hate it? I don't care if they like it or hate it. What is the volume on this damn thing? It's like,
Yeah,
you have to be careful, like on all aspects of a song. You can be weird with it, but you better make sure that volume is okay.
it almost sounds like electronic, what you're talking about part, where it just kind of makes that weird, like it's almost like mic feedback.
Yes, that's exactly what it felt like, and I hated it. I did not like that ending. It was almost like the next to last note.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of synth in this album, very heavy on the synth. And again, I was like vibing with the song. I like the bass. I'm like, we're doing good. Some weird sounds in here. Okay, whatever. Immediately at the very end, had to yank out my headphone because it hurt my ears. And I was like, what the fuck was that? I was like pissed. I was like, you had a good thing. But again, it is about balance, and that we talked about how the album feels a little imbalanced. The song for this song, not a bad song, but it did feel imbalanced for me in that regard.
Mm-hmm. I liked it. This was the first time that I had fun on the album, so
That's
luckily
fair.
it was three songs in.
Yes, exactly. Good. Yeah, it could draw you in a little bit more at least. So your next one is Long Snake Moan.
Yeah, I love Long Snake Mode. You want to talk about sex? This song is all about sex. That's all this song is sex.
Yes. Yes.
And it's also based on, I think, a blues song called Black Snake Moan.
Okay.
But as I was like listening along to the lyrics and everything, I was like, oh my God, what is she? Oh,
You're like, oh.
hello. But no, this song's all about sex. And at this point, I didn't know if she had a penis or a vagina or whatever she's got going on here, because I felt like I was like, maybe
Everybody's getting some.
she's got that BDE, and I feel like that's what she's talking about, and she's very confident, and I love it.
Yes, and the gritty guitar really matches it. I like that because again, you have this gritty music, but in this song, her voice is more melodic. Like it's not one of the softer songs by any means, but in terms of her voice, it is. She's not doing that weird guttural, deep voice that you've heard in some previous songs to this point. So you got this like nice sing song with this grungy, like gritty guitar, and it is just boning.
And you can't. And her voice is distorted in this one too.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like it's supposed to be like an older song, not a 95 song. Gives me like Janis Joplin vibes a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like Janis Joplin and Nina Simone met and then had this like grunge baby.
Yes. I 1000% agree.
And I think that's how we got PJ Harvey on this song specifically.
I dig it.
But some of the lyrics, I was just like, what does this mean? Dunk you under deep salt water. I'll be no hell out of your spell, over, under, die of pleasure. Like we're talking about, I mean, what else could it be?
Yeah, it's very blatant.
Again, a ton of like religious imagery too in this, like dunking you under, raise me up, Lord, call me Lazarus, Lord, heal me, make ready my veil, like all these things that are talking about religion. And she does that a lot in To Bring You My Love, which is not on my list. But she does that in that song. She does it in, I think she does it in Down by the Water too, and a lot of
there's
religious stuff.
a lot of prayer, like calling out to God, in a way. Yeah,
There's, I mean, I think in To Bring You My Love, she talks about being, the devil.
Yes,
Essentially, I'm pretty sure.
yes, that was so I mentioned it earlier. So she has inspiration from other artists. One in particular is, his name is Captain Beefheart.
Mm-hmm.
That, I don't know who that is, but that is a
name
person.
kept coming up. Yeah, that kept coming up.
To Bring You My Love was a specific, and some of her songs and lyrics are based on characters in his songs and lyrics. So get huge inspiration. Again, to none other than just for she liked the songs or wanted to write a response to one. Which one was it? Was it Long Snake Moon, or was it To Bring You? One of them was very the monster one. Meet the Monster. Was he wrote a song about being the monster, being like a playboy, like a like a hit it and quit it kind of guy, and then her song was from the perspective of the women meeting the monster. So it's like a response song to some random guy that she's really inspired by. And I'm like, again, did I like the song? No. Do I find it interesting where it comes from? Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the thing I feel with most of this. The more I learn about her, I like her, and I like some of the inspiration around the songs. But maybe it's just not for me.
The execution is not is not there.
Yeah,
that's fair. What's the next one? Did you have Down by the Water, or?
My next one was Down by the Water. Yeah, which is I think her biggest hit on the album.
Yes, I played it. I was like, do I know this song? And apparently I do, because this was the number one song in the United States. This is the one that got played on MTV over and over and over again. I liked it. It was weird, but I liked it.
No, again, like a lot of heavy bass, and very, with the hi-hat and everything. But it is like super heavy bass.
This is also another one that is very heavily informed by American blues music, specifically. So in the lyrics of the song, the lyrics narrate the story of a woman drowning her daughter and reference the traditional American folk song Salty Dog Blues. So, which is in the Great American Songbook. It's from the early 1900s. Jelly Roll apparently recently did a version of it to be recorded and put in. Yeah, it was very interesting. There's like a jillion different lyrics that, it's almost like it's American, but it's almost like an Irish drinking song where you could just add lyrics or change lyrics at any given point in time.
Love that.
There's barely a gazillion versions of Salty Dog Blues. But
this song honestly kind of reminds me of Radiohead and what we talked about last week. Like I could see this song being in a movie, in a
theatrical
scene. I could see people like walking to this song to I don't know. It seems like a crime movie song to me.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that's another reason why I could like almost narrate something in my head of what we're doing with this song. So
I had the same thoughts, and that's when we get to like the final questions of the pod. It's like, would you recommend this to someone? And I said, if someone needs music for the background of their movie that they're doing, where someone's walking around and being cool, but just like Radiohead, I had the exact same thoughts about this.
Yeah. So that was it.
I will say there's some lyrics. Again, it's a strange song already about a mother drowning her daughter. But there's a lyric that that blue-eyed girl became a blue-eyed whore. And I was like, what? What happened? And I was like, what? And I was trying to like put a story. I was like, is she drowning her daughter because she like caught her with a boy? I'm like, what is going on? And it was like so bizarre. And there's no real explanation. I think she just really liked the old folk song and just kind of wrote something around it.
Yeah.
And she's like apparently been interviewed before, and she goes, people really think I birthed a child and then drowned it based on this song. And I was like, that's crazy that people believe that this is autobiographical.
Do you think that has anything to do with Come On Billy too?
Maybe maybe there's some connection there. Come on, Billy's enough. I kind of liked Come on,
I kind of
Billy.
liked it too.
It's a, it's about a woman just begging her lover Billy to come home to meet his only son that he doesn't know about until she tells him. So got a girl pregnant, left her, and she's just missing him and sad about him. But if Billy was, if the son was actually a daughter, then I don't know. It's all very interesting. There's, again, because it has such ties to American blues and American folk music, there's so many stories that are happening here, but they're not conjoined, and they're not
Right.
cohesive enough for it to make enough sense for me to go, this is incredible. It's like, no, I'm very confused. That's it.
What else you got?
Um, the only other one I wanted to talk about was Send His Love to Me. I thought the bridge was really fun musically. There's like a dropout in the music. Like she keeps, like, it's almost like keeping the beat and the music drops, but she's still singing, and then it goes for a little bit, it drops, she's still singing. It almost sounds like a call and response between her vocals and the guitar. And then there's also the guitar cadence is also doing a triplet. It's like and there's this rolling. It feels like you're running in a way.
This one feels like an almost like an Irish folk song
Yes.
kind of thing.
Well, triplets are very popular in Irish music. So it's like and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, yes, I'm in it. And these lyrics were also probably, of any of the songs on the album, made the most sense. I know exactly what's happening in this song. Comparing one's love to a jail cell. I thought this was probably one of the better songs on the album, like in terms of like cohesion. It sounds good. She sounds good. The music is good with the rolling percussion. The lyrics are good. They're very poetic. Again, it makes sense to me that she does write poetry on the side, because this is a poem. And I really liked it. I thought, and again, it had both music and lyrics for me to connect with on this one. It's probably the only song on this album that did that. A lot of other ones, I'm like, I like the music, but I don't like the lyrics, or
It just
vice
feels
versa.
so different from the rest of the album.
Yes. It felt like not a pop song, but it felt like something that you would absolutely hear on the radio. When then you get to the dancer, and I'm like, why the fuck would anybody play this ever? And that was harsh, but I feel really bad like being so harsh, because I apparently like her as a person, but I'm like, this album's not it.
Yeah.
And there's a unfortunate a mental block happening here, because I want to like it so badly, but if I was to really go back and just listen and ignore all the cool stuff about PJ Harvey, it's not really there.
I feel like this is an album that you do not listen to in the car. This is an album that you put on and just lay back. Like, I imagine you putting on a record and you're laying down with your head next to the record player, listening to it come out of that. Maybe you're indulging in some products or feelings.
Products.
And you're just having that kind of time. Like, I do not feel like this is a just sit down and listen like you would a lot of music. Because like you said, I respect what she's doing, and I like it, and I like her, and I like the vibe she gives, but it is just not very cohesive to me.
Yeah. Whenever I think it was Rolling Stones called it goth, I was like, I get it.
Yeah.
I was like, I 100% can see a little goth kid steal his formerly goth parents' cassette tape, pop this into the player to get their CD, and just be like, I have so many emotions, black eyeliner, and just listen to the hell out of this album. Like, that's who's listening to this. And it's not, I mean, like, just the average music goer, we're probably just kind of like, this is cool, but it's not for me. And yeah, this is like a goth kid's dream.
Yeah, it's kind of like in the same way that like 9 Inch Nails, like there are some songs that are very accessible. Same thing with like, gosh, I'm trying to think of what their name is. Deftones. Like there are some good songs that they have that I could probably listen to a lot of, but like their whole discography and it's not my vibe, and that's okay. I'm okay. I know they're talented.
Yes, exactly. And I think it's decent, but it's not necessarily for us.
Yeah.
That's okay. So what was your favorite song on this album, if you could pick one?
I think I'm becoming a one-trick pony on there. I like songs that are about sex, and I think Long Snake Moan is my favorite.
That's fair. I had two. I picked Long Snake Moan and Send His Love to Me.
Yeah.
Those were my two that I was like, these are my favorite. These are the most cohesive musically. I mean, just like sonically, like the instrumentals, I really liked in both of these songs. What about a least favorite? I'm sure you have a few. I have three.
I really just stuck with one, although one of the ones you'll say is not my favorite. The Dancer I don't really love, but Meet the Monster is one of my least favorite. Meet the Monster is one of my least favorite on here. It kind of like I was kind of digging it. I got it, and To Bring You My Love, and then Meet the Monster came on. I was like, I don't like this at all.
Immediately soured.
It just didn't do anything for me.
Mm-hmm. I Think I'm a Mother.
Mm-hmm.
It made zero sense. I had The Dancer because of random screaming.
Yeah, she does go off on some of her little screeches and stuff. So
yes, and the honorable mention is actually Working for the Man, solely because, again, I had to rip my headphones out of my ear, and I was like,
I thought you were gonna say Teklo.
Teklo I didn't even cross my radar. I was like, I don't care about this. Like, it's not my least favorite, but I don't even remember it. I think I wrote about it. Oh, we just got a totally different voice here. What the fuck?
That's very Dylan of her. That's very like Dylan and Leonard Cohen.
She goes from having, and I'm like, when I say a deep voice, it almost sounds forced.
Yeah.
Someone described her singing style as frantic purrs, and I was like, you know what? Makes sense.
She does give me cat girl energy, though.
She gives me cat girl.
Not in the sense that she likes cats, that she looks like a cat. She looks like a very upset cat.
A feline features.
Yes.
Yes.
She does.
I'm just, there's so, like, the ones where she's a little more melodic, where she's actually singing or who uses more of what I feel is her natural voice. I like those songs way better than the ones where she's like, I'm gonna do this. And I'm like, hello?
Pretty good. Are you PJ Harvey? Maybe.
PJ Harvey, if you ever want to come on the pod, you're welcome. You're welcome to be here. We'd love to. I would love to talk to her. She seems dope.
It's kind of like Patti Smith. I get a lot of Patti Smith vibes from her. I'm not like the biggest Patti Smith person, but I love Patti Smith's vibe, and I like what she's about and everything. So
a vibe's a vibe.
A vibe is a vibe.
So do you have a lyric? Any lyrics come to mind for you? I know you read some earlier.
I said, in my dreaming, you'll be drowning. Hell's low, God's above, all drunk on my love. I think that's from Long Snake Moan as well.
Mm-hmm. Got a lot of religion and sex just wrapped into one.
What's better than that? Religion and sex.
Hey, there's no pope right now, so premaritals go okay.
Hey. There's no freaking pope out there. Sorry.
Deeply apologize. That was very rude on both of our parts.
No take backs.
No take backs.
No take backs. Cut that.
So my favorite lyric is from Send His Love to Me, and I wrote quite a bit of it because I couldn't pick. And it's, left alone in the desert, this house becomes a hell, this love becomes a tether, this room becomes a cell. How long must I suffer? Dear God, I've served my time. This love becomes my torture, this love my only crime. And I was like, that's good. She's good.
She rhymes. She likes to rhyme.
We love a rhyme. We've said quite a few pairings today, but any others that we might have missed?
I said Nick Cave, The Breeders, which is Kim Deal from the Pixies, which I had mentioned earlier. Hole would be a good one. That's Courtney Love's band. It was very grunge. Sonic Youth kind of vibes here. Leonard Cohen. A lot of vibes, but yeah, this is crazy. Like, I feel like I could recommend so many things around like similar artists, to play alongside this, but I'm not really looking forward to, listen to this again.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, because it's like, yeah, here's like a list of 10 artists that I think you should listen to instead of this one.
Yeah,
And it's
I
which
feel
is
that.
very unfortunate. Again, yeah, we're fans of PJ Harvey, but just not this album.
Yeah.
I picked Alanis Morissette because again, coming out in the same year, having similar vibes, both being nominated for best alternative female vocal performance. I did kind of, I was like, kind of, I feel like they're like the American and British versions of one another, talking about religion, talking about sex. Like, so I'm like, okay, that was my one pick. The other one is a band, Clary Browns and the Bangin' Rackets. They sing a song Love Letter, which is one of my favorite songs. It was featured in a Heineken commercial like 10 years ago. But Clary Brown, the lead singer, her voice has that deep guttural growl to it. And I think it is a more clean version than PJ's. And by when I mean clean, I mean like maybe she's a little more classically trained in that. Like, because you
Polished.
polish, thank you. You can do guttural, but if you're gonna do it well.
Right.
And I think Clary Brown does it better. So Clary Brown and the Bangin' Rackets, totally different genre of music, but a very, very, very similar vocal situation.
I like that. What's that band that's like a bluesy band with a woman? She's got a very deep voice. They just got back together.
Oh, I was gonna say Clary Brown and the Bangin' Rackets. No, I don't
No,
know.
no. They were super popular for a little bit. Alexa did not have an answer for that. So
Damn it, Alexa. That's okay. We'll look it up. We can post it in the Discord.
I'll figure
and
it
we
out
find
later.
out. So would you recommend this to a friend? I said that, like same as I did last week, is that this is a movie. As I said, if I have a friend who's making a movie and needs background music for their movie, I would give them this. Not at all. You're not. You're like, I'd
I don't
rather
think
recommend the other
so.
10 bands.
Yeah, I think I would recommend the other 10 bands that I mentioned over this. So, but I would love to like again. I think one of the things that I've learned about myself is like that I would love to Alabama Shakes. That's it. God, thank you. That was definitely it. Yeah,
Shout
her
out.
voice.
Shout.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I want to learn more about her, and I want to kind of listen to some of her other, like the 2000 album or the 2011 album, and see what she's about then, and see maybe if I enjoy that a little bit better.
Agreed. Do you give a rating out of 5 stars?
You know, I had 2.5 stars as my rating, but after talking about it, I think I could go up to a 3.
I had it at I was gonna put it at like 2.75.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's like it's definitely not as low as a 2.5, but it's not as high as a 3. It's like the bottom of my 3 ranking.
And that's really, this ranking is purely based on my enjoyment of it, and not like technically if it's good or
Right.
like if this is good in its genre or anything. I don't want to knock her for that. It's just it was not my bag, and I
Well,
did
that's
not.
how I was last week. I gave Radiohead a 2.5. They're not a 2.5 band. That's not a fair ranking, but that was my personal lack of
Yeah.
enjoyment of the album. And I know we've talked about last week how after the Bends, they go way more electronic, and the Bends is not necessarily everybody's favorite album from them. So, but that out, like, you got to rate. We're trying to be not as objective as possible. You can't be objective on your
Mm-mm.
opinion. It's your opinion. And as you should, we should all have different tastes and opinions and things that we enjoy. That's what art is. But we can still, I say, I really dig her vibes. I really am interested in listening to more, just not this album.
That's all right. We'll get him on the next one, champ.
We will. And speaking of the next one, well, I don't want to get in the next one yet. I want to ask you, as we wrap up our British Invasion Month, I want to get a definitive ranking from you, because we talked about the Battle of Britpop. We talked about, is this a good album, bad album? We went 5 weeks. This is our longest one so far. 5 weeks talking about British Invasion artists who are from Britain. I want to know, top to bottom, which was your favorite albums this month? Who is the king of British music? British music.
British.
Matty Healy does not count.
I can't do the 1975.
No,
My bad.
From our 5, it was, as a reminder, we had Oasis, Blur, Pulp, Radiohead, and now PJ Harvey. What is your definitive ranking, top to bottom, for our British Invasion month?
Well, I got to go with the one that the only 5-star I've given out this year so far, and that's Oasis. They're my number one. Pulp, different people. 3 is going to be Radiohead, the Bends. 4 is going to be Blur for me, and 5 is PJ Harvey.
So PJ gets the last spot.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Again, this album was not it for us. PJ as a person, we love you. But this, again, we're not really, maybe just not goth music, folks.
I am in my soul.
The emo is different.
I'm goth. I've moved on to goth.
I am in my full Midwest emo bag. That is.
What about you?
For myself, Pulp's got my number one spot. I loved Pulp. Pulp was such a fun surprise. I was listening to Disco 2000 on the way home from work today.
You love Disco 2000. Great song.
2000. It was great. So Pulp is number one. I gotta go Blur as my number 2. Oasis is my number 3. PJ's my 4th, and Radiohead, unfortunately, is my 5th.
Yeah.
It just not for me. And I want to listen to more Radiohead. I want to listen to more PJ Harvey. They're both on my, it's my TBR in a way, my to be read list, or to be TBL, to be listened list. But yeah, this was a solid month, even without, even if we didn't love some of the music or some of the albums. This, I think, has been my favorite month thus far of what we've been doing here on the pod.
Yeah, I thought I would have more fun with Country Month, but no, this one's been my favorite month, definitely.
Yeah, we got like a history lesson in a way. We really got to define a genre, learn about what was going on in a different country in '95. So, yeah, it's interesting.
There you go.
Yeah.
Chad agrees with you, except for the bottom 2.
That's fair. I understand. I also disagree with my own rankings. But listen to Rainbows by Radiohead. Done.
In Rainbows
by Radiohead. Yeah. Done. That's my next listen then. Well, perfect. So, Cody, that brings us to the end of our pod. It was a little shorter today because we didn't have a lot of positive to say. But anything that you've been listening to? Anything you want to recommend to the beautiful people?
Oh my gosh, I do want to recommend Jensen McRae. Just came out with a new album. Everybody should support her. Jensen McRae, she's incredible. Love her. I haven't
big Jensen McRae fan.
I mean, she held me down in 2020 and hasn't let go. So I gotta give her my props.
Talk about someone who has a true alto voice. I don't feel like in pop, I mean, she's not necessarily a pop girly. Maybe I would say like indie pop is her genre.
Yeah.
But to have a true alto voice in that space and to just belt, she's awesome. Love her. And her new album came out. Ooh, the new Bon Iver. I didn't know he had a new album. Hell yeah.
It's got. I saw a picture of him with Christine Milioti with a baby. That's the mother from How I Met Your Mother, and I was like, did they have a baby? I don't think they did have a baby, but
that'd be wild.
I don't even know if they're
breaking news.
They're together. I don't think they're together either. I think it's for the album. So, but yeah, that's my recommendation. Is Jensen McRae.
Her new album and her general statement.
Her new album, which is called. I had it pulled up just a second ago. Damn it. I don't know how, but they found me. Which is a line from Back to the Future.
Oh, I like that. Cool reference. We love her in this house.
His new album is in the running for album of the year. Okay.
I love that.
I'm not the biggest. I'm not a big Bon Iver person, so.
I love his voice.
You're barking up the wrong tree with me.
I haven't listened to a ton, but everything I have listened to, I've liked. So has a great voice.
When he said, "Come on, skinny love," I didn't hear him because I'm not skinny. So I said, "Nope, thanks."
He is featured on, and I knew I was going to bring her up at some point. He's featured on 2 Taylor Swift albums, Folklore and Evermore. him doing the bridge in the Evermore album is the best part of the Evermore album. That's not true, but he brings that home and it's so good. Anyway, my only recommendations this week, because I said earlier, I'm in my Midwest emo bag. I've been listening to Modern Baseball again and the Front Bottoms again. So I've been listening to a lot of the Front Bottoms. Great name, great band name. Also not Midwest emo, just regular emo, the Wonder Years, Pennsylvania emo. So
Nice.
those are my recommendations, but y'all already know about them. So just keep listening to them, I guess, or just go listen to Jensen McCrae because she's awesome.
Do it.
Well, that's all we got. Friends, family, brothers, brethren. I want to thank you, Cody, for being my guest and for being here and chatting about this with me today. And for all y'all folks out there, you can get more information about our podcast by joining our Discord server. Anything and everything about the 52-verse, whether it's this pod or our movie pod, just chatting about general stuff. As a general statement, you can join the Discord server. You can follow us on Instagram. Either way, we're there. We'd love to have you. We'd love to chat with you. I do want to give a plug that tomorrow, again, talking about the overall 52-verse, tomorrow is an extra credit episode for 52/1995 movies. And we're having a special guest, Crafty, from his podcast of the Video
Game Happy Hour.
Video Game Happy Hour. From the Video Game Happy Hour is going to be on tomorrow's pod with Cody talking about 90s movies, specifically Youths. So give us a join. That'll be later tomorrow. I think that's an 8 o'clock time.
8
Eastern.
p.m. Yeah, 8 Eastern.
8 p.m. Eastern, because we're getting him from a different time zone. He's from Central. So exciting to have him on the pod tomorrow. Next week, we do begin a new month. April is over. April showers have brought May flowers. We're digging into May. May's theme and genre is going to be pop and dance music. So we didn't have a lot of pop this year, to be honest. So we had to combine. So pop, dance, things that you can move your body to. That's what we're doing next month. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be great. And we're kicking it off, as we should, with Daydream by Mariah Carey, the ultimate pop princess of 1995.
Me.
I am very excited. So tune into that. We'll have you next week. We'll love to have you again. We thank you for being in the chat. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time on 52/1995.
And we out.